tape like this. What they would do is, I don't have this material with me tonight, but they would mash the tape down like this, pretty much for those edges. And they would cover this with a matte medium so that the color will not seep through here. What is cool about the technique, I really didn't plan this, it's just very intuitive about what I want to do with my composition, but this is a square composition, which is not the easiest composition to deal with, because when you're working with something like this, you have to make sure you have balance, and although like contemporary art, objective art is what I would call kind of free form, don't think twice that these artists have not looked at reality and have done realistic work. They have. They've just elected to work this way here. So that's why you see that phenomena happening. This is going to be real simple. It's the palette knife, of course, and some of you have already worked with that.
So we use that to mix the paint.
Yeah. So what you could do with acrylic paint, and typically what I'm just going to do here, I'm going to mix a little bit of white in each one of these tubes here. These are tin tubes, and you have this little pin prick here that can start the tube here like this.
So this is
That's why I'm
acrylic
doing it
paint
that way.
on canvas
Yep.
board.
Okay. Alrighty, and then we'll get some yellow here. Yellow is one of the worst colors to work with. It just seems like you can't really control it, so you have to really mix yellow with another color or two. What I'm just going to do is show you just a few techniques on covering paint. Actually, if I was going to do a full-blown mixture of this, I would have a lot more paint that I would work with. But what I'm doing here is mixing white with the color here. Now, what does white do? What do you guys know in design about white?
Make it lighter.
What's that?
Make it lighter.
Well, it does. It causes a tint to happen, as
yeah.
you can see, but it also makes it opaque. Okay, and opaqueness is what you get with gouache painting. You guys in art appreciation remember gouache and watercolor.
And they've used it in my class too, gouache and
Very
watercolor.
good. So this is a very opaque paint. The cool thing with the opaqueness of this is simply the fact that you can cover and have very little of the canvas to show through. So what I'm going to do is paint over the canvas areas here, and you can see that that's covering pretty well here. Now when a painter paints, for the most part, you got a lot of brush strokes to work with, but what I'm doing here is applying a fairly thick coat of paint here, and I'm smoothing out all my brush strokes. The reason I want to do that is I don't want that to interfere with kind of my vision of the piece there. So I got a blue here, and I'm always thinking of balance, so what am I going to do? So looking at that, I'm going to paint the same color here, okay, and once again I'm giving that a really good coat there,
You see how he goes over the tape?
just about like that. Okay. End up cleaning your brush, or you can have another brush. That's the trick of painting.
Yeah.
Quick change artistry. So some painters will go in with their brush and mix the paint accordingly there. That's one way of doing it, but everybody's got their own little ways of working here. The German artist M.L. Nolde said that the best painters were the ones that came up with their own inventions. They were taught in school, but school only goes so far, and you end up wanting to move into your own zone there, so to speak, and create your own ways of working. My grandfather was a truck mechanic back in St. Louis, and I asked my grandfather, I said, well, you got one job done, you're going to sit around and wait for the other thing. He goes, nope, I got about 6 jobs going. So I remember that. Okay, this is a palette. Obviously it's not the best palette in the world, but it gets the job done for a demo like this. So I'm using the white with that red, and these are primary colors, so for the most part I'm going to paint these colors down. They're very opaque because of white. Okay, and the way the color is very interesting because it's a fairly equal strength. Now red tends to be a pretty commanding color. I usually try to make sure that my strokes, once again, are as even as possible there. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to be joining some color with another color. So we'll take that yellow here. This is what I'm talking about with the brush. And do the brush trick here. But I've created an orange with, of course, the yellow and the red, like that. When you're mixing with your brush, you gotta just make sure that you spread the color down and make sure that it completely mixes, otherwise you're gonna have a streak
Looks
of
easy when
color.
he does it, doesn't it, guys? Looks like fun.
If it wasn't, I wouldn't do it. Okay, so this color is going to be a little different here. Got two similar colors and two slightly dissimilar colors. Okay, right there, got that orange there. So that leaves this area here, but guess what? When the painting is dry, I'll pull the tape up, and then I have, three other areas that are going to be vacant. They don't have color in them. But I can't paint them, otherwise I'm painting myself in a corner until this painting dries, and then I can do it. Okay, so we've got one last color here, and I think what I'm going to do with this one, we're going to create probably a little mixture here with some blue, and I think what I'll do is mix that blue along with the red and kind of come up with a combination there. If you guys got any questions, let me know.
So Professor Harmon's not using any medium with it, but typically you would mix some kind of medium in
You would need
acrylic
that to
medium.
spread your color, since you have more color to work with. Yeah.
So he's using water, which you can use. But mixing is really important. You've got to keep mixing and mixing till you get the color you want. You don't want a muddy color. You don't want streaky color. So that's why he keeps mixing it like this.
See, it's a customized color. It's the color of my own creation there, so that I can, not have the painting just be about, just color right out of the tube.
Tube, right? We
there.
don't want to do that.
Yeah. So I'm just mixing that down. Now I can shift this color. It's a little on the dark side with some white. And this is the magic. If you use white, you can always create opaqueness in your composition and in your painting finally. So take a little bit of white here. I've been sitting all day on my back.
He started at 7 this morning. He drives 3 hours a day to work.
Don't remind me,
He's
please.
at different places, so
Okay.
he's still standing.
All right. Last man standing, I guess. Okay. Mixing that up. That's kind of a, a mauve type color or something, whatever you want to call it. It's a violet coloration there. And notice how I'm mixing everything so it's not streaky. There's a lot of
Really
color
important.
that accumulates right in here. That's called
Yeah.
the ferrule of your brush, where the paint hairs are and the handle's clasp goes in. So we'll mix that and get that down as much as possible. And then we'll coat this section here. Now that doesn't mean that I can't use this color again. But the problem is going to be if, of course, I want to repeat this color. And for that, I would mix in jars. I used to use yogurt cups when you could get the lids and all that, but you got the tear-off lids now, you can't have that anymore. I think there was another type of jar we used to use, and I can't remember what it was used for, but it had
A glass jar, maybe?
a glass
With
jar,
the top,
and you could,
like a mayonnaise jar or something.
something like that, and then you could put a little tab of tape down there and create what we call a swatch of color that you can match up, that sort of thing. So basically, this painting would dry, then I would take the tape off. Since we're kind of in a class thing here, I'll try to take this tape off. I did this pretty quickly.
So he's making a straight edge, so he'll see a perfectly straight white
Well, let's
band.
hope
Well,
so.
we'll pretend it is. If it was dry, we'd see that.
Okay. When I take the tape off,
Don't
you're
take
going
the
to
tape
get
off,
a little
guys,
bit of
until it's
bleeding
dry.
here.
That's
I
okay.
just noticed that section was on
That's
the
okay,
top,
just
I
so they can
think.
kind of see the white
But you can
left.
kind of see there. We'll just let this totally dry, and then you can see it. But you can kind of see the fact there's
Do you
a
see the white,
fairly
guys?
straight line right
See
there.
that? The hard edge? It looks really
The
neat when
hard
they're
edge,
finished.
yeah. Okay, so we'll let that dry, and then you guys
Thank
can
you.
kind of see that afterwards.
Okay, well, thank you very
there.
much.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, that was Professor
Okay,
Harmon
that's,
doing a
painting
demonstration.
in 10 minutes. How about
Okay.